The recall side of the story in Exeter and a whole lot more. We have a busy show tonight. The Giants win the pennant. No, that's baseball in 1940-something. My father was at that game, by the way. Bobby Thompson shot her around the world. The Giants won a football game last night, so I'm a little giddy. We're 1-6. Bump, 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 bump. I feel like, all right, we got a lot to do. I'm going to get yelled at because we have so much to do and so little time with which to do it. So let us go. Exeter is on the agenda tonight. The other side, the recall side, we had Bob Johnson, town councilor, who is a subject of the recall, he and 3 others, over the gun permitting situation. The group that is looking to rid the town of those elected officials, represented by Brian Bishop tonight on the program. Let's go to the rundown. We got a lot of stuff on there. Pool progress, a follow-up from last night's Davy Lopes pool coverage. Human props. I do not know why the president continues to do this kind of stuff. A very tough decision by the peoples in Coventry, and a pretty informed decision, it seems to me. I'm proud of the citizens there. They seem to know what they're doing. What else do we have on our rundown this evening as we go to page 2? He's not an insider, but he certainly comes from a political heritage, new candidate for office. We'll talk about that. And I got a solution for all these problems with the college kids partying from Narragansett to Providence. And then a piece of video that is so shocking, all you can say is, let's get to it. All right, so last night the program focused completely on the Davy Lopes pool and this debacle of public relations and urban policy emanating from the mayor's office. Here's a headline that appeared in the Journal tonight, rather today. Push underway to reopen city pool. It's kind of deceiving. The real story is that there's a city councilor that has claimed that there's blackmail going on here, at least political blackmail. But there is a push, there's no doubt, I should say that. There's a group of state legislators now and community activists who arrived at the Davy Lopes pool yesterday to protest this plan to cement it. The bids were opened yesterday. We covered a little bit of that, but I'll just remind you with an excerpt of the press conference last night, it was yesterday's press conference. We ran it last night, and then my conversation in studio as a follow-up with Councilor Davian Sanchez.
The offer was vote in favor of the budget and we'll keep your pool open and anything you need will go in nicely. Ever since I voted against the budget, they've closed down the pool. They've rejected the 8% tax for the Western housing. They're making it impossible for SWAP to build their building over on Prairie in public. And this is all because I voted against the budget.
Are you saying this is political blackmail?
Yeah, it is political blackmail. Yeah.
Did you have a quid pro quo conversation going on? Did they want your support for the budget in order to be able to continue to fund this pool?
That happened, yes.
All right. Did you say that's blackmail?
It is, but again, I don't have anything to really prove it.
Well, no. When you were in conversations with
yeah.
You blackmailing me?
Yeah.
You know, while that was going on, all of that allegation against the mayor was standing firm about how smart his decisions have been not to open that pool during the summer and run other programs.
What I did was invest the money into a summer camp that fed the kids breakfast, fed the kids lunch, made sure that they were involved from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, versus having a pool that was being very lightly used in the afternoon from 1 to 5 o'clock perhaps. So what I did was invest so that we could serve more children. More children. That's what I did.
It really shouldn't be either or. And the thing about this 1 to 5 lightly attended, they've got a policy that if a kid doesn't have a parent with them, they can't get into the pool. And other restrictive policies. In an environment where there are parentless families and when parents are actually working and staying off the welfare doles, now we got to demand that in order for a kid to be able to get in the pool, they got to have that parent who's not accessible. It's just dumb. The whole thing's been dumb. Here's the update. It seems like there's some movement. I've heard some rumor that the counselor, who has not returned my phone calls today, maybe that's a good sign, is actually in negotiations with City Hall. We'll keep you updated. All right, let's go to Washington. Here's the headline in the Washington Post. This has become a tremendous, incredible debacle. Health insurance exchange launched despite signs of serious problems. The president had a human prop fest yesterday in what should have been a triage press conference. It was a show.
Let me just recap here. The product is good. The health insurance that's being provided is good. It's high quality and it's affordable. The problem has been that the website that's supposed to make it easy to apply for and purchase the insurance is not working the way it should for everybody. And there's no sugarcoating it. The website has been too slow. People have been getting stuck during the application process. And I think it's fair to say that nobody's more frustrated by that than I am.
Oh, come on, Mr. President. People who've been on those exchanges trying to get on your promise, they're more frustrated than you are. How about just letting it go a little bit and getting in with the people, as opposed to using people as props behind you? If the Republicans had just forecasted the disaster that the open enrollment would be, this problem would have been front and center for 2 weeks, en route to a 2014 election where most people by that time will be so fed up with the incompetency of this rollout that the election would take care of itself. By the way, this mandate, they're not going to make it by January. So listen, keep score at home, but they're not going to make it. They're not going to make it with the fire district, the central one, at least in Coventry anyway. While all of us in Rhode Island are always talking about merging and consolidation, they tried it in Coventry. They had, what, 7 fire districts, and now they've got 4. Headline in the Providence Journal today, struggling fire district finally passes budget. Here's the rub on that whole thing, though. Last night at this meeting, the Peoples in the Central Coventry Fire District, by a 6-to-1 margin, passed a budget that is en route to a financial disaster, because the money is not going to last the rest of the year. It's actually a good decision. It's a good decision because it will force Judge Brian Stern, who's been handling this case, to partner with this finance board, this fire board of newly elected folks, to wipe the whole thing out, to start from scratch, to defund it, to end it, to just rid themselves of this district, to wipe the slate clean. And then maybe they can start new with firefighter deals that are affordable. Anybody who's looked at this deal says this is the most unaffordable firefighter deal that they've ever seen, all a product of consolidation. Doesn't make any sense. Alrighty, here's the latest when it comes to politics. We've got a new guy running for treasurer. He's barely just over 30 years of age, but he's got a lot of political stock. His name is Seth Magaziner, and he put a YouTube thing out today.
I'm running for treasurer to bring new energy and new ideas to state government. We can do great things in Rhode Island, but we can't expect the same State House insiders who created this mess to get us out of it. We need to have the courage to move past the old ways by electing new leadership for our state.
Listen, he was on the radio show with me today from noon to 3 on WPRO during the 2 o'clock hour. Seems like a sharp young guy. Thing is, he's Ira Magaziner's son. Ira Magaziner worked with the Clinton administration and still works with the Clintons. Here's a photo from way back. So this insider thing, you know, listen, he may not be an insider yet, but he'll be an insider fast. I asked him about the political ramifications a couple of times on the radio show, and he got belligerent as if it was below him. Then I got testy, and he gave me this answer.
Will the Clintons show up in Rhode Island for you, yes or no?
I don't know. I know that I'm focused on reaching out to Rhode Islanders. I mean, honestly, that's the role that I'm running for. You know, that's what I should be focused on. I mean, anyone who is running for public office in Rhode Island should be focused on earning the support of Rhode Islanders. That's what I'm focused on right now.
Oh, please. There's a lot of ramifications here. I don't have all the time to tell you about it, but the Magaziners and Clinton and this young man, Magaziner, worked with Gina Raimondo years ago. Watch for a network of political strategy that's going to be very interesting between the treasurer's race and the governor's race. They got orange stickers on the houses at PC, at least a couple two, that have, they're partying their you-know-what's off. Here's the headline in the Journal: Sticker shock, police putting all these orange notices. This is the same police exercise that happened in Narragansett. Now it's moving to the party houses in Providence. Here's my solution. Back at UD, baby, the University of Dayton, where I graduated in 1983, we had a neighborhood called the Ghetto, where all the houses just had kids in them. So, you know, urban development. Just put a neighborhood with just kids, and you'll be good. And then finally, did you see this video from the ball game, the Jets-Patriots, the other day? Look at this ridiculous video of a fight.
You can see the woman in dark blue punching the man in the Jets jersey. The man then backs up. Moments later, the blonde woman, a New England Patriots fan, lunges toward him. That's when he punched her right in the face.
You can't do that. I mean, I don't even know how you even think about sidewinding a woman and hit her right in the nose. Can we agree? You just can't. You can't do that. When we come back, a recorded discussion from yesterday, different shirt color, with Brian Bishop on the Exeter controversy, and then I'll be back with this shirt on for our final segment. Stay with us. Welcome back to State of Mind. The issue of Exeter and the gun permitting and the recall has taken a little bit of time on this program over the last couple of weeks, and so I'm pursuing the conversation even still. And Brian Bishop is a guy that I've known on and off for years, and depending on the issue, he and I are either going to agree on something, or we're going to have a knockdown, drag-out brawl. It might be the latter on this one. Good to see you, man.
We'll see what happens.
All right, buddy. The story goes that the town of Exeter has been challenged by this debate over who ought to be issuing a gun permit, the town clerk or ship it up to the Attorney General's office. And what happened is that after a lot of attention was, between Newtown and everything else, the council there in Exeter decided that they wanted to petition the General Assembly for legislation that allows them to discharge the responsibility of the town clerks issuing a gun permit to the Attorney General's office. Well, they did pass a resolution calling for that. The General Assembly never acted on it, and so nothing has changed right now in terms of who issues gun permits. We stipulate to that, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So there was a big public meeting that happened. What day? When was that?
It was in March of 2013, this past spring.
Right. Okay. Where all of this kind of came to a head, and hundreds showed up at the council meeting. Take it from there.
Well, I think the meeting is a good place to take it from because it certainly is the catalyst for the current recall movement. There were hundreds of people at the meeting, and certainly we estimate about half of those, if not more, were from Exeter itself. So if you can turn out 150 or more people from Exeter for an issue, it clearly is an issue of some import to the citizenry in Exeter. And the meeting was characterized, the council ran it as if it was a kind of typical meeting, although they had already moved it twice because of the amount of interest in this issue, which meant that they allow 15 minutes for comment.
Moved it by calendar or by location?
Both. The meeting had not picked up the same day. They rescheduled the meeting based on the necessity to provide more of a forum. But having done so, having provided a much larger space, they still provided the typical 15-minute comment period. It wasn't a hearing. It wasn't a sense that they meant to engage the public. In fact, they are deliberately detached and unwilling to engage the public largely in these during these comment periods. And it's a
double-edged sword. No matter, even if you've got a mundane, little tiny issue, it's a very, very, very fine line between the gadfly nature of some folks in the general public who dominate public meetings. I'm talking about in general, conceptually, and meaningful dialogue that goes on between citizens and their elected officials in a formal capacity.
I totally agree with that, Dan, but here you had a meeting that was called virtually entirely for this issue. They had put a couple of other small matters, but This entire meeting was about this issue. This wasn't a chance where somebody was going to hop up deus ex machina and say that garbage collection wasn't going right in his neighborhood.
But they used a format as they would for other meetings, is what you're bothered by.
That they used the format for other meetings. They had this very brief period, and whether or not they wanted to directly engage or debate the citizens, they moved immediately to a vote on the question. And with virtually no real interplay or debate amongst the council, they simply voted, obviously at odds with the concerns of many of the people who had shown up. And they did proceed following that, of all kind of ironic timings, to slightly engage the people who had shown up, only to the point of essentially showing the folks who were there that they hadn't really understood or heard their concerns, and everybody went home unhappy.
All right, so it is this unhappiness from this meeting that allegedly is the impetus behind the recall. When we come back, I'll get some clear answers from Brian as to what the two-tiered agenda is here, because it is about gun control / gun permitting, rather, and then it's about, the way they're doing business. Stay with us. So Brian Bishop is the communications director for We the People of Exeter, which spawns from this bad meeting in March over whether the town ought to be discharging their gun permitting responsibility from the town clerk, who of course has no experience in law enforcement, or not the sheriff, but the sergeant. The sergeant arms, who also has no experience in this kind of stuff for the most part, right?
He has as much experience. I mean, look, they don't teach at the police academy what's the correct basis to issue these permits. The sergeant's long been the same person elected. He drives around in a car with lights on, carries himself, and knows the people in town. I would contest this whole characterization that these people kind of don't know or can't understand the townspeople in a way necessary to consider their fitness for permits, along with background checks, which they do get.
But let's be clear about this. There are police chiefs all across the state that want to discharge this responsibility as well. They want this to go to the state, and that's a conversation that we ought to have about management responsibility in a community, or whether this is the kind of thing that ought to be discharged to the Attorney General's office. The council made their decision. You don't like the way they went about making this decision, so you're heading this recall effort. Bob Johnson, one of 4 town councilors who's up for a recall in Exeter, again, there's 4 councilors that are up for the recall, all Democrats, FYI, said this on my program about the whole mission the other night. Mr. Councilor, what's the moral of the story so far?
Well, the moral of the story for us is special interest groups came into Exeter, and they're looking to steal the election of 2012. And our team is going to work hard to protect that election and the votes and the trust that the voters put in us.
Your reaction, Brian, to that?
I think that's somewhat of a comedy. There were some people there from other places in Rhode Island who are concerned about this distinction of the Attorney General and whether or not he is a friendly issuer and friendly to the Constitution. But the majority of people at that meeting were from Exeter. The people that have engaged in this recall effort are from Exeter. They haven't gotten any outside assistance in this. They've gone door to door picking up these signatures themselves.
Well, did I not read that there are people who are principals in We the People of Exeter who are not from Exeter? Did I not read some journalistic accounts on that?
No. What you're looking at, of course, is somebody attempting to spread some dirt. There is a PAC called We the People that was formed by some of the people concerned about this. It was unrelated to the gathering.
A PAC is a
political action
committee that can raise money and discharge.
That can raise money. And that was done with the help of people in Rhode Island who understand the issues of campaign finance. So in a sense, we've accepted kind of in-kind help to structure something like that. But all the work for this, the fundraiser and the people coming out to the fundraiser held in Exeter, all the work on this, walking the streets, getting our fellow citizens to sign, was conducted by Exeter people. So the idea that people came in from outside of Exeter is silly. The idea that the election is trying to be stolen is equally silly. He refers in a sense to the notion that the Exeter Charter provides that if any councilor is recalled, then people who ran in the previous election
underneath.
And we have this system where everybody runs, they're all on there. the top 5 vote getters get on. So if you recall one counselor, number 6 would go on and so forth. Now, first of all,
well, yeah,
Johnson, who's at the bottom, got 1,673 votes. The person underneath him got 5 less. So the idea of Bob Johnson being switched to the person below because of, we think, egregious misconduct in office.
There's another reason why. Well, it's another reason why every vote counts, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Why not? Now the town clerk is still in custody. Why not just make this an issue for the 2014 election and not go through the rigmarole of upending the town government?
Well, I think, again, this goes to, we talked about the meeting and to people's feelings after the meeting. And their concern. I think initially that was really what people thought, but the way in which they were treated, and then when the Representative Valencia, to whom they handed this resolution, succeeded to submit a bill that didn't even match the resolution, didn't even carry the protections that the town council had claimed they had seen to. We saw that happen in the earlier session. It happened again, and I think the general unresponsiveness of people to that size of a showing in town, the idea of telling them to essentially pound sand, people decided this was more serious than a question of wait till the next election.
So it's a gun issue, it's a constitutional issue in the town of Exeter. I'm guessing that you will take up the invitation to discuss this with Mr. Johnson or any of the councilors who are up for recall right here. Crossfire type right on the program, correct?
We'll certainly take it up, and I hope that it's folks from Exeter watching, because I appreciate the interest upstate, but we really think of this is a door-to-door Exeter issue. It's Exeter people.
Well, you know, I got to tell you, it would be bad business for the show to discuss issues that are only interested. It'd be public access in Exeter if it was only interesting to people in Exeter. I think this has statewide ramifications. So
we certainly
so
recognize
stop being
that.
so damn provincial.
Okay.
All right, good to see you, man. All right, and we'll have you back. Brian Bishop, stay with us next. Your State of Mind. I've learned since our recording of that interview with Brian Bishop yesterday that the recall election date is actually Saturday, December 14th in Exeter. Let's go to your state of mind. Here is a Facebook post from Ron, who says, you know, with the high taxes people pay in the city of Providence, you think the mayor ought to keep the pool open for the kids that really need it. I'm with you, Ron. And by the way, a private-public partnership could be easy on the budget because swimempowerment.org is trying to raise some dough. More feedback from you? Call me, 228-1886, and leave a voicemail. We'll air it. State of Mind at myRITV.com is the email, or tweet at me or Facebook post. Dan Yorke tomorrow, 7:30 with State of Mind again. Good night.